Okay, so then I guess I'll start without sharing the presentation, which is not essential. But yeah, first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Dhaunae De-Vir. I work as a business developer for Paradox Interactive. We one of the, well, is becoming now one of the most relevant video games companies worldwide. We've grown a lot in the last 4 years. We're over 600 employees, and the company is publicly listed since 2018. So never in my dreams would I have imagined that I was going to be able to work in the video games industry, much less in such an important company. And this is easier to understand if one knows about my origins. Hopefully you can still see me and I have not frozen, because in my screen I'm frozen. But well, as long as you can hear me, it should be all right. So I was raised in the middle of nowhere, literally. I am originally from Spain, and I grew up in the mountains. We didn't have any landlines, of course, no internet in the 80s or 90s. I didn't have a tech-savvy family that could guide me in some way. We didn't have any money. We were quite poor, actually. So I never even had a console, not even a portable console. I had to just be content with playing at my friend's house or at my cousin's house. But I could never, have one of my own. I was so happy when I was gifted a computer for the first time by my parents, but it was work. It was not for playing video games. So that was like a universe kind of eluded me, even though I was really, really interested. Another bad point to, something that is very important, and some people, well, many people I found that did not consider, is that they never think that video games can be a career. I certainly didn't think so. I just was thinking about, being a doctor, being a pharmacist, an architect, a teacher. Consider any of other these kind of things as viable professions, not even as professions even. So that was not in my mind. I would have loved that, and I would have loved to know that, but I didn't. I had no idea, and I had no one to guide me. So I've always had a passion for science and technology, but also for the humanities, right? I'm like humanistic kind of person from the Leonardo da Vinci era, in which everything to me was very interesting. So when it came to what degree to study, I was open to everything, and I just did what many people do. I followed my mother's advice. Business administration, because it will open many doors. It's a very versatile degree. But the truth is that I dreaded it and I didn't like it at all. So after that, I went on to do an engineering in computer science, which I much preferred. It was not my first choice. My first choice would have been an engineering in chemistry. But my mother would not agree to that. So, computer science was like the middle ground. In parallel, I became a semi-professional esports player. So esports, for those who don't know, are electronic sports. And at that time, it was not a real profession. That's why I say semi. Like I would, tick all the boxes, but we still didn't have like a regular salary. We didn't have an employment contract. We didn't have a manager. We didn't have anything, which now they do, right? So yeah, I was doing that in parallel to my studies, sometimes, taking a bit too much time from my studies, I have to say. And I still kept my passion for reading and writing and telling stories, and that's a very interesting thing, as you will see in a few minutes. After I finished, during my degree and after I finished my degree, I worked in the IT sector in Spain. I found it terrible. among other things because it was very misogynistic. So I decided to found my own ICT company, which went quite well. But then I decided to sell it, and because I thought it was too much work for the fruits that I was collecting, so to speak. Because Spain is not a good country to to found your company. It's a lot of work, paperwork, bureaucracy, and things that I really don't like. So what I did is I moved to London. So from Spain to the UK. In the UK, they are more open to new businesses, and I had more opportunities to succeed. So once there, I worked at an IT lab, but then I thought again about founding my own company. And at that point, it had dawned on me that actually video games could be a professional career. And partly that happened because I was in London, and there is quite a healthy video games network in the UK, and I learned about that, thanks to the two trade bodies that there are over there for video games, that are Yuki and Taiga. And then I said, okay, why not? Like, I have experience founding companies, and I'm really very passionate about this. So I started working as a programmer, but then hired other people and moved on to become a games designer, because I loved to create stories and the mechanics and everything around it. And at the end, I became a transmedia producer. Production I like very much, because I'm a very executive type of person that make things happen, and that's a great role for you if you like that kind of things. In parallel to this, I became a STEMnet ambassador. So I would go to schools and high schools to promote science and technology, and also video games. Like, they had a specific branch to promote video games and how you can healthily use video games for your education and for your growth as a person. Because I'm very passionate about video games, and I think that they can really help. As studies prove, I'm always relying on science, and science support this. So my main challenges at that time, just think that I'm just working at an indie video games company, either founded by me or by someone else, but it's a very small company. So my main challenges that I had found so far in my professional career was basically being a woman in a male-dominated industry. It doesn't matter if it is IT in general or video games in particular. I actually found less resistance to me being a woman in video games than in the whole of the IT. So that's a good point for video games. And then another problem that I had, that I found that was very big, and I had never thought about that before. I'm the founder of my own company, and I'm the CEO. There's no one above me, and I have no one that's ranking higher than me to vouch for me, give references to others. The only people that could give references about me were my business partners, but at that time I considered that was not very appropriate. I disagree with myself in the past right now, but at that point I thought that was not appropriate, so I was not using that kind of lifeline. And then the other thing is that if you're the CEO of a company or a founder, it doesn't matter what, you're going to be involved in a lot of bureaucracy that take away from the actual video games part, and I didn't like that. That's actually my main reason to want to go for someone bigger, so that I could just remove myself from that and just devote myself to the part of video games that I enjoy. So I have to say that I achieved my goal. So my career progressed towards becoming a business developer in a video games company. But yeah, people would say, yeah, this happened because and hardworking and you persevered. And all of those are true, but the key of the matter was not exactly that. What happened is, because there's always, a circumstance that pushes you and that helps you get your break. In my particular case, it was that Paradox Interactive had purchased an intellectual property that I was a fan of. Maybe you know it. It's called World of Darkness. And I had been a fan for all of my life, since it was released back in 1991. I'm actually right now wearing a t-shirt for that. So it's World of Darkness, and then you have Vampire the Masquerade, which is one of the game lanes. And then in the back, I have one of my favorite art pieces for this. So what happened is that I was actually an expert for this IP, and they needed people that could do transmedia and could understand this brand and the community around this brand and the situation around this brand that had been dead for a while, because the previous company that was owning the IP had not taken advantage of the brand, so it was kind of dead. So that was one of the main points. Like, yeah, hard work and everything, but I was also lucky that this situation happened, and I could basically insert myself on it. Just so you know, how much time do I have? Yeah, a little bit more. So just so you know, for example, I was organizing events, like the events that were non-official at that time for this brand. So I had opened my own publishing company for these books in my spare time, like in parallel with the video games kind of thing. I was publishing these books in Europe because there were no European publishers. And to market the books better and just to meet my fellow fans of the brand, I was also organizing events in the Netherlands, in Spain, and in Germany. And actually in Germany is where the main people for this brand met for the first time, like in one of my events. And of course, from there, the relevant person that was looking who to hire thought of me, because I was doing this already. So I was super, super proactive. Being proactive is always good. So that's how this happened. And this is my summary of my story. Is a little bit more complex, but I think you get the gist of it. And what the whole point of this talk is, if I made it, you can make it too, for sure, because I had almost everything against me, like no connections, no technology at my hand, no money, raised in a place that was in the middle of nowhere, and so, and in the end, I made it. Maybe it took me a little bit longer than one could expect, but I'm super happy now where I am. So I don't know if you. Oh, so I'm now seeing the chat, and I see that at least Nadia is. Ooh, Nadia and maybe Mafalda are also fans of World of Darkness. So now I'm opening the floor to questions. If you have any questions, I'm of course super glad to answer, because I always like to help people get into the games industry, also promote it and let people know how it really is. So yeah, also if you have any World of Darkness question, I can also answer, maybe. I mean, if it's not a secret, I can say. So yeah. So Mafalda says, not only fan of the IP, but you, I must say, I'm trying to go down your path. Okay, so I don't know if you have any specific questions. What I can tell you is that you can make it, for sure, because I could, and I never thought it would be possible at all. Oh, Bruna says, very inspiring. Thank you so much. Thank you. I have to say, because I hadn't mentioned this, I was feeling very lost most of my journey, like very lost. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Even when I founded my companies, it's like, I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing. I'm not sure this is the right direction. And then I had to also So I had a position from my and close close friends and family, I could say. I mean, some of them were like, you are spending so much time on this, and this is going to, you know, to do nothing for you. Because I was really, really working very hard. Maybe too hard, I don't know. But it's just so you know that if you find yourselves in that position, that happened to me too. And I persevered and I succeeded. So Cornelia says, how is it to work within the video games industry? What does a day look like? Any specific programming languages skills that is needed? What experience should I have? So Cornelia, every kind of knowledge that you can garner, it's going to help. I found that in my job, in my several different roles, everything that I knew, I was drawing from here and there. It gives you confidence and it gives you a more ample view of I wouldn't. So as for programming languages and skills, keep up with I would recommend you to look at the video games you would like to work for, like video games and companies, and check out what are the technologies that they use. Are they using, for example, the engine Unreal 4? Are they using Unity, something else? And then you learn about that, and then you become the expert that they want, that the company that you want to work for wants. Then what does a day look like? So video games industry, I think it's quite, I would say it's quite ideal, actually. You can dress as you like. I have 2 more minutes. Dress as you like, have purple hair. It's, you know, it's quite flexible. I know it has a fame for crunching, which is working overtime, and that's terrible. But for example, my company doesn't do that. So there are companies that don't do that. And it's amazing to just be able to pour your whole creativity there. How difficult do you think is to have a start in the game industry in a small place where you don't have the desire to relocate? It's becoming easier and easier, and actually COVID times is going to help you. Because companies are thinking about hiring more and more now, about hiring people that are not you know, in the same place. Like, for example, I work half of the time I work remotely. My base office is in Stockholm, but half of the time I'm in Madrid. Like, for example, today. Shout out to City Skylines and Prison Architect. Yeah, those great games. Online courses. What do you mean by that? There are too many, and I don't know where to start. So I would recommend what do you want to be working on, and then go backwards. Like, I want to be working, then what do I need to be working in that? Instead of doing just random courses, try to make a studies plan for yourself. If you want to be, for example, let's say a 2D artist or a concept artist, or a programmer, what does, for a certain company, what are the skills that they have? I would recommend go to LinkedIn and check what skills the people that you aspire to be have, and then study to get those skills. Then Nadia says, video games, kick, and nerd, and I try to always censor. Yeah, I have to say, I have 1 minute. I'll say, I sent a lot of CVs. I had no answers. No answers. So don't get discouraged. I had no answers to any of my CVs. That's one of the reasons why I was feeling lost. But in the end, persevering, I succeeded. So don't worry if you don't get answers when you apply for positions. Do you have any suggestion for researching companies? I don't know if I have more time to answer, because it's already, my time's up, and I'm not sure how this works. But I'll say that researching companies, try to think about the style of a company that you want. Do they allow to work from home? Do they do crunch time? The kind of video games that they release, are you passionate about that? And then research based on that. And then when you find that company, become the expert that they need to hire. That's what I would tell you. And then I'm not sure if I need to leave now myself, or if I'll be disconnected at some point, because I am past my time, I would say. I think this was only a 20-minute talk, and we're and we're over. I mean, I can keep talking. I love talking, and I think that you're asking super clever questions. So let's go back up. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you all for being here. I'm so happy. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Dhaunae De-Vir, like same name as this here, and I will accept. I'm not super picky, and feel free to ask me for more advice. You message me, and I will answer your questions. Thank you so much. So happy to have been here and talk to you all.